Hey, welcome back to another segment of the K-12 Sports Tech AD Think Tank. Going to be right back with this week's Think Tank guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. You've heard me say many times, these are all companies I used as an AD. They're all great companies. You should use them too. So take a couple minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our guest, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to thank K-12 Sports Tech for sponsoring the Think Tank segments. K-12 helps ADs and sport vendors connect through education and hands-on consulting. Athletic directors are also invited to join the K-12 Sports Tech AD Think Tank and help influence how companies shape their tech to better serve schools. To get started, just go to k12sportstech.com. That's k12sportstech.com. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. As an AD, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, our student athletes, and our parents just loved the Huddle platform and all the things it allowed us to do. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see the products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, results. Even if your state association already has a platform you use for those items, their athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone, you just got to check out. Go to homecampus.com for more information. We also want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant AD, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and it was, excuse me, a great experience. Very reasonable, just 20 months totally online. And you also get 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. To get started, just go to ohio.edu/info/MAA. We'd like to thank our friends at Gipper. Your students are on social media, and if they're not seeing content that celebrates their accomplishments and promotes your program, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. Whether it's a social media post celebrating a big win or an entire newsletter showcasing all the great things that you do with your program, the Gipper team will have you creating world-class content in seconds. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com for more information. We want to say thanks to our friends at Snap. Have you spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's snapraise.com. We'd like to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. ADs already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to gripe. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% that supports your program. And having that positive feedback, that data, is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. They're also great ways to showcase your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. And we want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing. Hometown's the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. There's a lot more, but if you're looking for digital ticketing at your school, whether it's more support, more security, or more customization, Hometown is going to help you make the best solution. go to hometownticketing.com. Like I said, it's digital ticketing that offers more. Welcome back, everybody, to a segment that we're calling the AD Think Tank on the Educational AD Podcast. If you've been listening to the podcast since the beginning, the name Jay Getty will certainly be familiar. We've done over 630 interviews. Jay was number 6 on that list. His tools still appear in the first edition of the toolbox. Jay's the director of athletics. He's also the head cross country and track coach at Hagerty High School. That's right here in Central Florida. Has a tremendous background in athletics. As an athlete, as a coach, as an AD, he's sat on the FHSA Athletic Director Advisory Committee for many years. He is the go-to source for all things track and field with our Florida Athletic Coaches Association. And he's with us today. So, Jay Getty, welcome back to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always great to pick up some new ideas and be able to listen to other people on the podcast. And, our profession is all about giving back and using other people's key items that have helped them to make our lives a little bit easier. So I'm excited to be back on and hopefully share some pieces that will allow someone else to survive as long as I have survived behind the desk, on the track, or out on the cross-country course, or any other administrative duty that I have been assigned along the way.
Right. And again, for our listeners, we all have different tools in our toolbox. There's some shameless self-promotion there of our books. But Jay also has been seen in our state and even nationally as, an expert, a guru, if you will, on using different apps to kind of make your day go a little bit easier as an athletic director. He's a lot more than that, but he shares with me. He still gets people that listen to that first that number 6 interview from all going on almost 5 years now, asking, well, hey, how do you do that? And that's why we do the podcast. So I appreciate those comments. Well, Jay, I'm going to get out of the way. What do you have for our listeners on this segment of the AD Think Tank?
Well, for this segment, this is what I like to try and call and help our beginners with. I'd like to title it Surviving the Day, because we all know the day is very unpredictable, but it does have some standardization to it. First and foremost, the one piece that you are most likely to put on the back burner and forget about, believe it or not, is actually having something to drink. I don't know how many days I've made it to 2:00 and headed out to the bus ramp at 2:20 and thought to myself, I don't even know if I took the waters out of my bag yet. And most of the time, if I've gotten there, I realize that is exactly the case. So a number of years ago, I decided the minute I walked in the door, I was going to take the 2 drinks that I bring, since there are 2 pockets on my backpack. One is typically a vitamin water. The other one is usually a sweet tea or something with a little caffeine in it. And those 2 things go directly to my phone. The phone is going to ring. We know the phone is going to ring. So I at least look at those 2 drinks 40 times a day, hoping that during one of the times that I hang up the phone, since my hand is right next to it, I might actually pick it up, open it, and begin to drink it. And that really has been super helpful in making sure that as we're teaching our athletes stay hydrated during the day, you don't become the person that's in the taco tarp or in the ice bath because your athletes had to become involved in your own rescue. So, a lot of times it's you get busy, you don't take it off your bag, you go to break, you come back in, you start working, then the disaster happens. You get called on something on campus. For me, for those of us who are in my age bracket or just a couple years older, I am the ship's doctor, much like on the Love Boat. Everybody was assigned roles. Over the course of my career, I have been fortunate to be involved in a number of life-saving moments. There is a CPR compression save on a cross country parent at a preview meet that I walked into. There's a save with an AED that was at Lake Brantley High School. Just Jerry Kelly started calling my name, and Jerry Kelly didn't sound like Jerry Kelly. And I ended up on the team that then helped resuscitate one of her spectators that was entering the stadium. So what this has done, basically because of some level-headed thinking and being able to stay calm, I have become, as I like to say, the ship's doctor on campus. The medical calls go to the deputy and myself. Where are, if you want to call it, the Hagerty High School first responders, so that we can get there and get an evaluation and then start working in the right direction. They always need a school employee in those situations to assist. So that has become my role. And when those things step into the day, that's typically you're down about 30 minutes to an hour. And once that goes, now everything's all frazzled. And I will tell you, if you forget to take your drinks off your bag, now your whole day is totally backwards because you were working on something, you got to something more important in terms of saving a life, and then you're back to settle down at your desk. And then next thing you know, again, you're back to lunch duty, and then you're back to working, and then you're back to the bus ramp, and then you're back to not drinking all day. So to stay out of the medical situation, again, having those drinks up there by the phone is super important for your day. I've also found out, because many of us have lunch duty, that I like to call that the other duties as assigned. Hey, we'd like you to take coverage during lunch. Sure, no problem. So I have learned how to eat standing up, because that is usually how it happens. But to make sure that you remember you have food, I've also started leaving that just to the left of the drinks as well, so that I continue to see it, so that I grab that on the way out. Because again, if you don't see it, you typically aren't going to do anything with it. And the old out of sight, out of mind fits this completely. One of the other things that I think a lot of us struggle with is trying to make everybody's life easier. And that's, as whether you're a teacher, a coach, or an administrator, we're trying to make it go smooth for everybody else. And I think the biggest part that we need to be able to do as athletic directors is let go and actually dictate to people what they should be doing for you. But when you look across the room, you have to be able to say, hey, can you do this for me and work on this schedule? Can you put this in? But many times we look across and go, that person's working so hard, I don't want to lean on them. When in fact, you have to realize that sometimes they really just want something to do. They are working on something, but they are watching you struggle at your own desk trying to keep up. We've got to be better at delegating. That is something that I think all of us struggle with at times, because we all got to this point in our careers because we're attention to detail people, and we don't want the details to be messed up, because then we're solving somebody else's stuff instead of just our own. That's, drinking, eating, and delegating are two key pieces to make sure that you get right, because that's going to save you some time in the long run when you're building your staff and getting them to the point that they're going to be able to function without you. You're going to need to get away. You're going to need to go to the Florida Athletic Coaches Association conferences. You're going to need to get to national and get out to next year in Tampa. And you're going to be gone during some key moments. They need to be able to function properly, and that's giving them the chance to do so. One of the things that I have a new assistant. He is gung-ho, and he has now learned that his best course of action is just to follow me around. Sometimes I don't even know he's around. I look up and where did Jacob come from? And Jacob is just following me. He goes, because I know you're not going to tell me, so I'm just going to watch and walk and learn along the way. And that's when I started thinking, I need to be better at bringing people up. We've brought our own kids up. I was fortunate this weekend to be a part of something very, very nice. But I will say the hardest part of my presentation at the podium was talking to my kids, because we've raised other people's kids more so than our own at times. And that's a struggle. And you need to be able to talk with that topic with your kids. We've had some pretty good campfire talks all three of them. They are my two boys are firefighters. One's a firefighter medic. My daughter is at UCF. She's a freshman. It was very relieving when they told me, Dad, we're super proud of what you do. They all went to Hagerty High School. They've seen me all day long do my thing. But it's still worrisome when you, as an athletic director, are running a Seminole County sports recognition show for everyone with 500 attendees, and the text comes in that says Noah's on the mound. Those are the parts that you step back and ask yourself, why am I doing this? I'm missing my own kid. And you think your kids are super important. And I realize that my kids are happy because they know how involved I am in athletics, and I'm doing whatever I can to make somebody else's experience better. And that's comforting. But you, as an athletic director, have to be able to say that to your children. It's important. One, it gets it off of your chest. And two, they truly understand how you feel. So on Saturday, while at the podium, I was able to work my way through that. There are always moments where you have to have there's got to be one person in the crowd you can look at as your calming person. I used him a couple of times, but it was great to know that when it was over with, they did say to me, Dad, we've gone over this. We know what you do, but thank you for letting us know how much you cared.
Boy, all your points are so great. And I would say maybe in the last couple of years, your last one really rings true. If you're in this business for long enough, this career, and you do some good things, honors are going to come your way. And I've had a couple recently. And I read this line and I shared it. Now I share it in just about all of my presentations. And it's to that same point. We should, as leaders, as ADs, as coaches, we should aspire to be named to our Hall of Fame. It's not narcissistic. It's not selfish. It's, we want to try to be the very best we can, but we need to ask ourselves, and obviously you did, and your kids shared with you, would our kids nominate us to be in the Parent Hall of Fame? Would our spouse, would our partner nominate us to be in that Hall of Fame? I think my wife would. Would our parents nominate us to be in the Son or the Daughter Hall of Fame? And again, our jobs are tough. They're rewarding. They're great, but we never want to forget what the most important part of our life is. And even going back to what you started off with about the drinks, we got to be intentional. You got to be intentional about bringing that drink and putting it by your phone. For me, later in my career, it was intentional about bringing, let's say, a healthier afternoon snack, so I wasn't always consuming that athletic director dinner of a hot dog, a bag of chips, and a soda at 8:30 at night because I hadn't eaten since noon. So again, be intentional about your own health, be intentional about your family. Great stuff. Jay, we've done this many times before, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more, and listeners, you have a tremendous resource here. What's the best way that our listeners can reach out and get a hold of Jay Getty?
Best way is always email, because since it's on everyone's phone, you're always, whether it's your personal email address, your school email address, an email address that you created because you thought it was going to make life simpler by putting that on your social media account so that it was easier for other people to log in. We all have all of those outlets available to us. My email address, GettyJR@myscps.us. So that's GettyJR@myscps.us is the easiest way. But sometimes a text message does work very well. That's 407-782-4015. As I tell my parents in my programs, when you text me, I'm probably going to ignore it for a short period. So it always works really well if you add a little key detail in there, such as who you're communicating with when I'm going to send something back. When I text athletic directors that I've had to go to the home campus directory for to find their cell phone, I always open it up with a Good afternoon. Jay Getty, Hagerty here. Wanted to touch base with you about a couple of items. If you've got a quick second, please let me know. That typically works best. Occasionally, because as my wife says, I am open to a lot of different ways of communication. My cell phone number is on my tagline with my email. And I said, Kel, sometimes they just need to get a hold of you. It's going to voicemail the first time. So I always encourage them to leave a message and make sure they start the same way. But you've got to be able to be reached. Sometimes people just want to know that you care enough to give out your cell phone. They may never call you, but by doing that, they know that you're open and you're available to them. And that's all anybody really wants from somebody that's working with their kids, is to know that they can pick up the phone and reach out and get answers for some question that they may have.
No, great stuff. And for our NIAAA members, Jay's information is also in the NIAAA membership portal. So, Jay, thanks as always. I didn't mention this, listeners. Jay is also in our state. He is the president-elect for the FIAAA, and that means he gets to organize our state conference. So if you're looking to attend a great professional development experience, come to Florida the first weekend in May. Details are on the FIAAA website, but Jay's going to be organizing that. Jay, thanks again for all that you do, and all the best with the rest of 2025.
All righty. Thank you.
For our listeners, we do this segment just about every week, and every day we try to share stories and best practices from the world of education-based athletics. So come back and join us again for another episode of the AD Think Tank on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Hey, before we go, we do want to acknowledge all of our great sponsors. K-12 Sports Tech, of course. We want to say thanks to Gipper, the Ohio University Online Masters, Huddle. We want to say thanks to Snap Raise and Home Campus. I want to thank Athletic Surveys, along with Hometown Ticketing, Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards, and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Once again, these are all great companies. I used them as an AD. You should be using them too. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast. Have a great day.